So real quick, thank you for tuning in. Basically, you watching this video proves to me that you really want to work hard and make sure that you know how to do fractions. So again, thank you for watching and kudos to you. So first things first, whenever we're adding or subtracting fractions, you need common denominators, only when it comes to adding and subtracting fractions. So just keep that in mind. So before we do that, I'm going to need a common denominator like I just mentioned. So here's my tip to you. What you want to do is always start with the largest denominator, which in this case is going to be 6. What I like to do is list multiples of 6. The second I stumble upon a multiple that the smaller number can be made into, I'm going to stop. So here, let's use 6. I'm going to list multiples of 6. Every single time I'm going to ask myself, once I list it, can the smaller number be made to it? So here, let me give you an example. So the first one, 6 times 1, which is 6. Can 4 be made into 6? No. So the next one would be 12. Can 4 be made into 12? The answer is yes. So guess what? This is my lowest common denominator. So I'm going to go ahead and write 12 as a denominator and 12 as a denominator. Notice I went ahead and brought down the sign. You want to do that because I notice a lot of students forget to do that. You don't want to fall into that category, so please make sure you do that. So now the next step is going to be, how did you get a 4 to become a 12? Well, in order for 4 to become a 12, you're going to have to multiply it by 3. But not only can you multiply, should you multiply the denominator by 3, you're going to have to multiply the numerator by 3 as well. So here my new numerator is 9. So why am I allowed to do this? Well, 3 over 3 is 1. Anything times 1 doesn't change its value. So here, let me prove to you that these two are the same. If I had 9/12 and I were to reduce this by 3, I would end up with 3 over 4. So guess what? 3/4 and 9/12 are equivalent. Okay, so once more, let's go ahead and change 6 into a 12. How does 6 become a 12? Well, I'm going to have to multiply it by 2. And again, not only are you multiplying the denominator by 2, you're going to have to multiply the numerator by 2, because 2 over 2 is just 1. So here, my new numerator is 1 times 2, which is 2. So once more, what you're going to do is, you don't have to do this, but I want to show you, 2/12. If I were to reduce this by 2 over 2, I would end up with 1 over 6. Guess what? These two fractions are equivalent. Okay, so just keep them in the back of your mind. So now that I have common denominators, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this. I know my denominator is going to be 12, now that they're in common. And I'm just going to go ahead and write this expression down. 9 minus 2. 9 minus 2 is 7. 12 is going to remain my denominator, so my answer is 9/12. So that's all there is to adding and subtracting fractions. So let's go ahead and just keep moving on to the next example. So for this example here, again, since I'm adding fractions, adding or subtracting fractions is going to require a common denominator. So what am I going to do? Well, again, I like to start with the larger denominator, and I like to list out multiples and just every single step check to see if my smaller denominator can be made into that number. So here I'm going to start with multiples of 7. So I have 7. Can 4 be made to a 7? Nope. Moving on. 14. Can 4 be made into a 14? Nope. Moving on. Next one would be 21. Can 4 be made into 21? Nope. Keep moving along. Now we are left with 28. Can 4 be made into 28? Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and write 28 as my lowest common denominator. And I'm going to go ahead and bring down the operation before I forget. Now, how does a 7 become a 28? Well, I'm going to have to multiply it by 4. But not only are you multiplying the denominator by 4, you have to multiply the numerator by 4 as well. So here, 4 times -2 is -8. Same thing here. 4 times what will give you a 28? You're going to have to multiply by 7. But once again, not only are you multiplying the denominator by 7, you have to multiply the numerator by 7. So 3 times 7 is 21. I'm going to highly suggest you rewrite this. My denominator is going to be a 28, and the expression for the numerator is going to be -8 plus 21. So here there are more positives. How many more positives are there than negative? There are 13 more positives. So it's going to be 13 over 28. And there you have it. That is going to be your answer. Okay, so moving on to our next example. Here we have a mixed number. So what am I going to do with that? Well, I'm going to turn it into an improper fraction. So what I'm going to do is do 3 times 1, which is 3, plus 2, which is 5. So this is going to become negative 5 over 3 minus 4/5. So once again, I'm going to pick the larger denominator. I'm going to go ahead and list out multiples and just keep checking to see if the smallest number can be made into that number. So here, 5 is going to be the first number I try out. Can 3 be made into 5? Nope. So the next one's going to be 15. Can 3 be made into 15? I'm sorry. The next one would be 10. Can 3 be made into 10? Nope. Moving on is 15. Can 5 be made into 15? Yes. So I'm going to stop. That's my lowest common denominator. So I'm going to go ahead and put 15 as my lowest common denominator. I'm going to bring down my operation, which is the subtraction. So how does a 3 become a 15? Well, you're going to have to multiply it by 5. Not only multiplying the denominator by 5, you're multiplying the numerator by 5. Because 5 over 5 is just 1. So here, 5 times negative 5 will become negative 25. Same here. How does a 5 become a 15? Well, we have to multiply by 3. Multiplying the denominator by 3 will mean I also have to multiply the numerator by 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Now here, what I'm going to do is, again, suggest that you rewrite it, where 15 is going to be my lowest common denominator, and my expression for the numerator is negative 25 minus 12. Here, there are definitely more positives, definitely more negatives than anything. In fact, there's only negatives. Altogether, there are 27 negatives and 0 positives, so I'm left with negative 27 over 15. This will be your answer. But real quick, some of my students have been struggling with turning improper fractions to mixed numbers. I won't ask you to do this, but I still want you to be able to do it if I were to ask. Okay? So your numerator will always be your dividend, which means it will go inside. Your divisor will always be your denominator. So now here, let's first determine a negative divided by a positive is going to be a negative. Took care of that. Now, how many times will 15 go into 27? It would go in once with a remainder of 12. So your remainder becomes your numerator. And your denominator stays the same. Your denominator was a 15. It's going to stay a 15. So this is equivalent to 1 and 12/15. But once more, I am going to be looking for an improper answer, not a mixed number. I prefer improper fractions over mixed because it's going to save you some time. So just keep that in mind. Now let's take a look at our next example here. Notice we have two mixed numbers. So let's go ahead and turn them into improper fractions. So first things first, multiply these two numbers together and add the numerator, which is going to leave me with negative 11/4 plus here 2 times 1 is 1, 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, so this is going to be 3 over 2. So once more, I'm going to take a look at my larger denominator. I'm going to go ahead and start listing out multiples of that number and check if the smaller number can be made into that. So the first one's 4. Can 2 be made into 4? Yes. So this is actually going to be my lowest common denominator. I'm going to go ahead and set 4 as my lowest common denominator. I'm still adding. Now, what do I need to do to turn 4 into 4? Well, since it's already the exact number that I want, you could think of it as multiplying by 1. Okay, so my numerator is going to be 1 times negative 11, which is negative 11. Here, 2 times what will give you 4? Well, you're going to have to multiply by 2. Remember, again, you have to multiply both the numerator and denominator by 2 because 2 over 2 is just 1. If you multiply anything by 1, it's not going to change its value. So here my numerator is going to be 3 times 2, which is 6. I'm going to suggest you rewrite this with the denominator 4, and your expression for the numerator is going to be negative 11 plus 6. There are more negatives than positives, 5 to be exact. So it's negative 5 over 4. This is the answer I'm going to want. But again, just to show you how you would turn this into a mixed number, your numerator will always be your dividend, so it goes inside, and your denominator will always be your divisor. It has nothing to do with about the bigger number always going inside. That is completely false. There are some examples where that's not necessarily true, so please do not use that. So here, first of all, I'm going to decide a negative divided by positive is a negative. Now I'm just going to start dividing. It's going to go in once with the remainder of 1. So that's going to be my numerator. My denominator was originally a 4, so it's going to remain a 4. So it's negative 1 and 1/4. And there you have it. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and move on to the very last example. So the reason why I chose this particular problem is because we have a mixed number and a whole number. So first things first, let's go ahead and convert this into an improper fraction. This is going to be negative 11/4 minus, because this is a whole number, I'm just going to go ahead and put it over 1 to make it a fraction. So it's going to be minus 5/1. Once again, you're going to check the larger denominator. You're going to go ahead and list out those multiples and just check to see if the smaller number can be made into it. So here, the first one's going to be 4. Can 1 be made into 4? Yes. So that's going to be my lowest common denominator. So I'm going to go ahead and set 4 as my lowest common denominator. Make sure I bring down the operation, which is subtraction. So here, 4 times what will give you a 4? Multiply it by 1. Or again, basically it means it doesn't change. You're going to keep it as a negative 11, but just for the sake of showing you, I want for you to see that I'm technically multiplying by 1. So now here, how does 1 become a 4? Well, you're going to have to multiply by 4. So we multiply the numerator by 4 as well. So 5 times 4 is 20. I would suggest you rewrite this with the denominator 4. This is going to become negative 11 minus 20. There are more negatives than positives. To be exact, there are 31 negatives. That is going to be my final answer, but once more, just to show you, for those who are not sure how to convert this into a mixed number, your numerator is going to be the dividend, and your denominator is going to be your divisor. So real quick, a negative divided by positive is a negative. 4 can go into 31 about, let's say, 7 times, which is going to be 28. This is going to leave me with a remainder of 3. So 3 is going to be my numerator. My denominator was originally 4, so it's going to remain a 4. So that's equivalent to negative 7 3/4. But again, I'm going to be mainly asking you to write your answers as an improper fraction. So I'm hoping this video has helped you. If it has not, feel free to email me and I will try my best to make sure you get the hang of it. Okay? Until next time, thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.